Welcome back to the Nuptial Nonsense Podcast brought to you by Oak Willow Event Co. I'm your host, Valerie, and this is my co-host, not Riley. This is Courtney.
Hi.
Riley's at home sick today. Courtney is a former Oak and Willow bride.
Former bride is so
Former bride.
depressing.
Is it? Now you're a married woman, though.
I know, but it's like the bride era is over.
Yeah.
But now we're friends.
It was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you.
I had a great time.
Okay, good. So she's going to talk to us today a little bit about her life, her bridal journey, do's and don'ts.
Mm-hmm.
The number one do is hire Oak and Willow Event Co. to be your wedding planner.
Correct. I'm not paid to say that.
No, she's definitely not paid to be here. We don't have that budget for sure.
No.
And we'll just go from there. So tell us about you.
Well, hey. I'm Courtney Alexander now.
Yes, girl.
Courtney Leo to my former life, but Courtney Alexander now.
Yeah.
As of like a couple months ago.
Yeah, I love that.
And I'm from East Tennessee, and I just got married, obviously, to my husband, who I met long distance. And yeah, so yeah, we started wedding planning in different cities, so that was fun, and not in the city that we lived in.
Because you were in Knoxville.
I was in Knoxville, and he was in Georgia.
Right.
And
now you live in Chattanooga.
Now I live in Chattanooga, which ironically is where we planned our wedding, and we didn't know we were going to live in Chattanooga. So
that's right.
That's like a whole story in itself of like us booking Chattanooga for our wedding and being like, great, because it'll be like halfway, it'll be good. We have a lot of community here, and then we end up living 10 minutes from our wedding venue after that. So that was fun. Didn't know that was going to happen. So I've moved twice. Anyways, about me. I run my own trauma-informed life coaching company where I help single women specifically live full and authentic lives.
Yes.
So that they're not just sitting there twiddling their thumbs waiting for marriage, but like how do they actually get to live this fully abundant life and have good boundaries and take ownership. Like I just feel like there's a lot of expectations on single women, specifically single women in the South, of like what life should look like or shouldn't look like. You're dealing with expectations from your upbringing. You're dealing with expectations from your faith. You're dealing with expectations from, culture, your parents, like all these different things. And so what does it look like for you to be a fully flourishing single woman? And
because it is possible.
It is possible. Yes. And just because you are flourishing in singleness does not mean you have to give up a desire for marriage and family if you still want that. Because I see I see people talking about like, best life, single life, and like living it, and I'm like a strong, independent woman. But like, what about people who like actually want to live that freedom and also still have this desire that I want to get married one day? And so we kind of sit in the middle and the messy and all of that. So
that's life.
It really is.
Like that's it's messy and
it really is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I started that a couple of years ago as a single woman and went on that journey, and I'm no longer a single woman. So that's been an interesting transition of working with single women and no longer being one. And so it's given me very much a different perspective.
But you can like testify to both sides of that now.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Because you did like, based on your social media, live a very full, flourishing life.
Yeah.
Before Nick.
Yeah.
And now you're like, he's so great, and you're obviously so happy, and like, wait till y'all see their wedding pictures on our Instagram. I'm like boo-hooing looking at them just because you can like. I mean, even though I was there to witness it, obviously, but even in the photos and the video, you can just see how much y'all love each other. I love that for you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks. It's really great to hear that because, like, and I've heard that from you and some other vendors that we worked with people being like, look, we do this all the time. We do this every weekend. And I don't know, maybe they're just blowing smoke, but people are been like, there's just something that's like really genuine and authentic about the way you guys look at each other, the way you guys love each other, your community around each other. I know we'll get into more about our wedding and stuff, but
because there are literally brides that like my team and I have been like, should we ask her if she actually wants to do this? Like, girl, blink twice if you need help. Like, genuinely, we have witnessed it.
Sure.
So, y'all are not That's not you.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of some of the work that I do too, is like in your singleness, how can we find unique standards and values that are applicable to you, not just
Yeah.
rules for rules' sake, but that are
Yes.
really in line with what you need.
Yes.
And if we can really work through some mindsets that marriage is like this ultimate prize and like it's
Mhm.
like this like status level to
Yeah.
achieve in culture and like all these things, if we can actually shift our mindset about what marriage is and what it isn't,
Yeah.
then what we find is women are not getting married just for getting married's sake,
Mhm.
or women are
Yes.
not getting married just to get out of singleness. It's not
Yeah.
marriage is not a solution to the problem of singleness, because
Mhm.
singleness is not a problem.
Yes.
We continue to think that singleness is a problem and marriage is a prize. Singleness will always be
Yes.
like
Yeah.
horrible. So how can we actually sit and hold both? And it's living a full single life is exciting and wonderful. And it didn't mean that it wasn't hard. Like
Yeah.
I grieved a lot, and it was hard for
Yeah.
sure. But then walking into marriage, you're like, wow, this is like a whole life, and I
Mhm.
actually there's like elements that I like miss my single life, and
Oh, sure.
not like how people say of like, oh, just enjoy your single life while it lasts. Like not in that way, but it's like, okay, how do I actually bring and blend together elements of
Yeah.
that life that we created? And yeah, because I just don't know a lot of people in my circle. Well, now I do, because now I work in the
Yeah.
space and the market, but I just didn't know a lot of people in my circle who waited until their 30s to get married. So
Yeah. Girl, I'm
that's
42.
our story.
Still waiting.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good, because
Yes.
don't settle, because then you end up
No.
with those brides who are like, "Are you just checking a box and getting married just to get married?"
Yeah. Or I have a friend that has literally, I will not say her name, but she has literally been married and divorced multiple, we'll say multiple
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
And I'm like, girl, it's okay to just be you.
yeah,
Like, it's okay to just like hang out with your friends and like,
yeah,
you don't have to have somebody all the time.
yeah.
But
You're a wedding planner, and this is your podcast, and we're talking about maybe you shouldn't get married.
marriage is
But if
awesome.
you do decide to get
Yeah.
married,
I'll help you. No, and
but
I
if
believe in
no,
love and marriage and all that. Like, I think that that's real, but it's not for everybody. I
no,
mean, that's for sure. And
and the
like you said,
timing isn't for
yeah.
everybody.
And like you said, it's not just like this like life goal of like I have to achieve this or like I have failed.
Yeah,
Like as a woman,
for sure.
especially. Like that's not
Yeah,
that's bullshit.
yeah, yeah.
So
I love
anyway,
watching women just chase after their dreams and start
yeah.
businesses and do things and
Yes.
raise great kids and just live incredible lives, and not
Yeah.
just say like, "Oh, I can't live that until I get married."
Yeah.
Ugh.
No.
So I love being a part of the launch process.
Yeah, girl. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
I do that all the time. Like when I'm on like training sessions with my girls, like I'm sitting there. It happened last night. I was on a training session with them, and I'm like, okay, that's not anything I prepared, but that's apparently TED Talk number one.
I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, back to you. So other than that, where can we
Yeah.
find you on social media?
Instagram, TikTok,
Okay.
YouTube, at Courtney Leo. There's an extra Y in the center. Leo's my maiden name.
Mhm.
Keeping it for branding's sake.
Sorry, Nick.
Like it says Alexander on my title, but
Yes.
it just yeah, but there's an extra Y in the center,
Courtney.
so it's Courtney Y Leo. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm extra, so I couldn't just
Oh, I was gonna say, is that
have
your
it
middle
be my
initial?
name. No,
Oh, okay.
it's not my middle
I
initial.
was like, what would be Y? Like, what would go with Courtney that starts with a Y? Okay, never
Yolanda,
mind.
Yvette.
Yeah. So let's talk about your wedding
Okay.
and the wedding planning process.
Mm.
So, okay, you found me
Yeah, this is fun.
sort of like it was sort of like two ways. Like,
I was gonna say,
so
do you remember?
yeah. So, like, there was in a Facebook group, right? There was like a posting
Hmm.
or something.
I posted in a Facebook group
Yeah. Okay. But then I had coordinated a wedding that you were at.
that I had been to.
Yes.
Well, so here's the thing, and this is like life hacks for wedding vendors that are watching. I stalk Instagrams for my vendors like crazy.
Yeah.
And so I'd posted in Facebook, "Hey, I need a wedding coordinator,"
Mhm.
which that's a whole thing of why I decided we should talk about that.
Yeah.
But I needed a wedding coordinator. Your name popped up several different times, along with many other options, but
Yeah.
several different times. And I went to your Instagram, looked at photos you had posted, looked at tagged photos from brides, and recognized a wedding that I had been
Yeah.
at that you had coordinated.
Yeah.
And so messaged that bride and was like,
Yeah.
here's the question for all brides. Would you hire them again? That's all you gotta ask. Hey,
Yeah.
saw that they did this. Like,
Yeah.
because you can talk to the vendor about what do you offer, what you don't
Yes.
offer, like all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But the question you need to ask other brides,
Yes.
would you hire them again?
Yes.
Because
Shout out Katie and Jed for saying yes. Thank you for that.
So Katie said yes. That
I
bride said
love
yes.
her.
She said yes, absolutely loved her, like all the things. She'd hired you for a different package, but as
Yeah.
far as like working with you and participating with
Yeah.
you, she was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And so I was like, okay, cool. And then that was enough for me to reach out to you. I was
Yeah.
on the pickleball fields when I reached out to you. I remember.
I love
I
that.
was watching Nick play pickleball
That's cute.
and you emailed me.
And it was so fun for me at the reception to see Katie's mom and brother.
Yeah.
Like that
They were
was
there.
I love that so much. Like
I haven't asked. I didn't ask her or I didn't ask you about that. If you had seen her like at all, this is the
yeah.
first time I'm hearing.
Yeah, so we like the guests were coming and they're like signing the guest book or whatever, and Hannah was like, no, I'm sorry, Misty. Misty was like, Valerie, don't we know them? And I'm like, there's like this line of people,
Sure.
and I'm like, probably like, and she's like, no, him, the redhead, because it was her brother.
Very, very memorable.
Yeah, and he's tall, like he stands out, like he's a handsome guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And then I saw her mom and I like freaked out.
I'm so happy.
I know Katie was like, my mom sent me pictures of y'all. Like, I'm so glad you saw her. Oh yeah, we were taking selfies and she was sending them to her.
Shout out to Martha. I love you, Martha.
I love that whole family. It's just absolutely precious.
Yeah, we've known them a long time.
Yeah.
Long.
So how do you know them?
So Luke, the redhead, and my youngest brother Joey are the same age, and him and my brother and Luke and another boy were like all in the same grade.
Okay.
And we met them at a community pool. We all went to the community pool, and those boys were on the same swim team relay.
That's cute.
And they like won like crazy. Anyways, all of our moms are really good friends.
Yeah.
And then like I'm like way older than everybody else, but like between the different families, like there's a lot of like shared grades and all this kind of stuff. So
I can see your mom and her mom being like really good friends.
Yeah. They're totally opposite.
Yes, but they're both so like fun and just like such like fun mom energy. You know what I mean? Like I can totally see them like being friends. They're great. Sure. Yeah. Great. Okay, so we ended up booking, and then so you had a separate.
Well, can I say why I went with you?
Yeah,
because I talked to a couple people.
Yeah,
I went with you because one, reference for sure, having Katie's reference of just like, would you hire again? Great, awesome. But there's a couple reasons. One, so like I've coordinated a lot of weddings, and so this decision was scary for me.
I'm sure.
I've said my whole life, like I'm really organized. I can run a wedding.
Yeah.
Like who am I gonna hire one day? It's what I've been stressed about for 10 years. Like a whole lot. Before I even was close to getting married. Like who is gonna do it better than me? Essentially. And I refuse. I'm old enough to have been to enough weddings. I've been a part of a wedding that I refuse to be the wedding planner on my wedding day.
Yeah, no.
And I absolutely made it important to be a bride.
Yes.
And so there was a couple things. One, you were chill, but also not chill.
Yeah.
Like you're chill and like make the main thing, focus on the main thing. And then also like everything's gonna be fine. But also when it's not fine, and we're gonna figure it out.
Oh yeah.
And so that blend was really comforting to me also. And I hope this like is a compliment and not offended at all. But you're like not a 20-something that just got into the industry. Like you've been to a lot of weddings. And like no offense to people who started, because like I've wanted to start a wedding coordinating business like 4 different times in my career. Thank goodness I've never done it.
And you definitely have to start somewhere for sure.
You have to start somewhere, but like you have done it for a while. You know what's important, what's not important. You know what to focus on, not to focus on, because you've just done it for a while. And You also here's another important thing is like you understand it from the venue side because you do have the history of the
Yes.
venue coordinator.
Yeah.
And one mistake that I see over and over and over again with brides is that they book venues.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is how your venue was, so hopefully I don't misspeak, but they book like venue packages that like, oh, it comes with a wedding coordinator, and it's actually not a wedding coordinator.
Yeah.
It's a venue coordinator that
yes.
like they can call
Yeah.
and know where to drop off. And so I just see bride after bride that are like, we just like didn't like
Yeah.
we just didn't have the help we needed.
Yes.
So and the other reason I booked you is because I knew I was gonna have 2 venues. I had already booked my venues when I
Yes.
booked you. So I knew I was gonna have 2 venues, and so I knew I needed somebody who was
Yeah.
very connected, who had a lot of team. And then the other thing was I straight up told you, I was like, "I do not wanna decorate
Yeah.
my wedding."
And I was like, "That's my favorite. Let me do it."
I was like, "Look, here's the thing. I, I just don't. Like, I have a
Yeah.
vibe. I can give you
Yes.
pictures, but I do not wanna decorate my wedding."
Yes.
I picked my venue specifically because they needed very little decoration.
Yes.
I do not wanna make the decision. I do wanna make the plan. And so literally, when I
Yeah.
on wedding day, when I walked out into my reception, it was the first time that I
Yes.
saw what
Yeah.
the decorations were
It
gonna
was
look
so
like.
funny to me when people would ask you, like, leading up to and even, like, at rehearsal, people were like, "Oh," and you're like, ask
I have
her,
no
"I have no
idea.
idea."
I have no idea.
And I was like, "I got it, y'all. Don't worry,
I
I
have
got
no
it."
idea. I have no
Yeah, and
idea.
you said, like, "I just don't want anything extravagant," like, because both venues you chose are so beautiful, like, just in and of themselves,
Yeah, for sure.
and so it didn't need either of them.
Yeah.
It didn't need a
Didn't
whole
need much.
thing. Like, it wasn't this just, like, blank,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? White,
Yeah.
wall to wall that's
No.
just
Oh
nothing.
gosh. No. Well, I think the other thing too that definitely came into play is that you know the area. And
Mhm.
at the time, like I didn't live
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And I eventually did live here, but
Yeah.
it's been 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So, you know the area. I loved the fact that you could be like, "Hey, we need this vendor." You're like, "I know exactly who to call." Or
Yeah.
I would be like, "Hey, we got this question about this," and you're like, "I'm gonna see them this weekend at a wedding." Like it's just like you're so connected
Yeah.
too because you've done enough in this area to be
Mhm.
able to go,
Yeah.
got it.
And
Got
that's
it.
one thing I will say about and I don't know, I mean, I've only ever worked in weddings. I mean, I've done them other than Chattanooga, but I'm obviously based out of the Chattanooga
Yep.
area. But vendors in this community are like so I was actually chatting with one last night or texting with one last night. She owns a wedding planning business. And we were actually talking about the podcast and she was like, I'm so excited for you. Like I will do anything I can to help you. And I was like, likewise, like I want everybody to succeed. Like genuinely, that's how
Yeah.
collectively I think the vendors feel about this. Now there are some that obviously mesh better than others.
Sure. Of course.
But like and I have my favorites for 100%.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if my favorite is booked, I have 5 other options.
I love it.
Just because I have done it for a while
Yeah.
now and I go to networking things and just the vendor community in this area is I feel like is really special.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just subject to here because
Sure.
it's like not that big of a city. You know what I mean? Like or if
Yeah.
that's how it is everywhere, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm thankful for it here
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, it came into play because there were multiple vendors that I never even talked to.
Yeah.
Like vendors of like we needed a little bit of greenery for this and like
Oh,
our
yeah.
linens and you're like, "Hey, I'm going to go do this. Like this is the price." Like this also because like I didn't have any hand in the decor. Like
Yeah.
I had given I had surrendered all that up. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want to do it. Like I sent you like 4 pictures. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is what I think looks good.
Yeah.
Is that fine? And you're like, yeah, I got it from here. And then
Yeah.
you would send me like, hey, I think, I think we need this. It's this amount of money. Like,
Yeah.
I was still making all the budget decisions
Yeah.
and signing contracts and deposits, but like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
were just able to go, hey, there's these people. Like, and for me, the research and the vetting process stresses me out.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I think that's why we work so well together because, like, you are super organized, and there were
Yeah.
sometimes that was a little bit intimidating to me because I was like, "Holy shit, I don't know how to do this Excel sheet." Like, Courtney, I don't know.
I literally, that's the thing, is like you came with like all the things and I'm like I never grew up and had a wedding Pinterest board. Couldn't tell you what I wanted it to look like.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you honestly, as far as my like venues go, that was all Nick. Like it wasn't even me. Like I was like, I don't even know what I want my wedding to look like. Like
Shout
I don't
out,
even
Nick.
know.
You did a good job.
Nick was like all there. He's like, I know what the wedding to look like, and I want there to be queso. Like it just
He was killing me. He's like, Valerie, there's going to be queso, right? I'm like, Nick, I swear to you,
He
there will be
needed there to be
queso.
queso. Like,
Don't worry.
absolutely. He needed there to be queso and, like, a couple other things, but, like, but I had the spreadsheets.
Yeah.
It was like, I had the math. Like, I was,
Yeah.
like, I'm like, "And then I did this formula and then this thing here," and you're
Yeah.
like, "Court,
I'm
it
like,
doesn't need to be that
so is that a
complicated."
yes? That's all I need to know. Like, yes, we're gonna move forward. Okay, cool. Like, I don't,
That's how my brain thinks, and that's how I organize things,
yeah, I
so
was
it's
like,
a
oh
little
God. But I think that's why we work well together. It's like
yeah.
we have a lot of similarities, but I think we have a lot of different strengths in different areas,
Yeah.
and so it just made like the situation, at least for me, very ideal.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
the stuff you didn't want to do, I was like, oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah,
And the
for
stuff
sure.
that I was like, what the hell are you talking about? You're like, I got it. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, we're good.
Well, yeah, and I think that's something we had talked about that at the beginning where when I was booking you, I also knew that I was moving once. I didn't know I was going to
Yes.
move twice in my
Yes.
wedding planning process. I
Yeah.
literally moved from Knoxville to Georgia and then Georgia to Chattanooga
Yes.
all in 4 months.
Yeah.
Like a crazy person. I
Yes.
knew I was only going to move once. I didn't know I was moving twice.
Yeah.
That was a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that and, like, here's the thing, like, the wedding is not the only thing that has to happen in
Yeah.
order to start your marriage. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're also talking about, like, bridal showers and bachelorette parties, but then you're also talking about, like, thank you notes and, like,
Mm-hmm.
this thing and, like, gifts for your parents and
Mm-hmm.
bridesmaids gifts. Like, there's so many things
Yeah.
as a bride that are not the event.
Yeah.
But there's so many and on top of finding places to like, we had to find places to
Mm-hmm.
live and what we're like, move
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
like, move, find places to live, like, set up utilities. Like, there
Yeah.
was so many things that were on my brain that even if I was like, "Oh, yeah, like, I could plan an event. I've done that before."
Yeah.
To be able to go and I think I said this to you in our consultation call, like, I need somebody whose brain is on the wedding moving it forward.
Yeah.
And so I need you to boss me around. Tell me what
Yeah.
you need from me. Tell me what you need me to
Yeah.
do. But like you need to be the captain of the ship for the wedding because
Yeah.
I gotta run a business, move
Yeah.
twice, like
Yeah.
prep for marriage, like do
Yeah.
all these other things that
Yeah.
like delegating. It doesn't mean I'm gonna be like hands off. I'm not gonna touch it, but you
Yeah.
need to be captain of it. And I think
Yeah.
that I don't feel like I didn't have a hand in the wedding plan
Yeah.
process. I
Yeah.
just
No.
felt like I had to trust you, and I think
Yeah.
that's the big thing that I see, and you had talked about a couple times, you're like, "Sometimes I feel like I need to give brides money back because they just do my whole job," and I'm like,
Yeah.
there has to be a level of trust, and there has to be a level of you deciding what are the big things that are
Yes.
really, really important to you,
Yes.
and what else are you going to release. I
Yeah.
don't need to know what time the linens are gonna show up.
Yeah.
But you know what I do need to do? I do need to sit down and pick what song I'm gonna walk down the aisle
Yes.
to, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that for me. I
Yeah.
mean, you could if I told you to, but,
Yeah.
like, you can't do that for
Yeah.
me, right? So there's a lot of things that you don't realize are just event things, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
event things that just have to get done,
Yes.
like, that are just part of the plan, like the schedule, the time, like, all these
Yeah.
things, but there's so many other things outside of the event planning that
Yeah.
has to get done as you are the bride and groom
Yes.
and as you are entering to marriage that like to
Yes.
be able to go and the event's going to happen one way or another because Valerie's the captain of the ship and she told me everything I need to get done. And there were some times where we would be on calls and I'd be like, "That's all we need to do this week. Are you sure?" And you're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, it's fine."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then also to have somebody who does it all the time, does it
Mhm.
every weekend.
Mhm.
I specifically remember a conversation maybe like 4 or 5 weeks out
Mhm.
and from the wedding, and I was, like, freaking out because all of these, like, details were not set yet, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "The vendors need this and this and this," and you're like, "They say that. This is the reality.
Yeah.
I've worked with these people before.
Yeah.
This is norm for the industry," and I'm like, "Oh, that makes sense in any sort of
Yeah.
industry. The people who are in it all the time
Yeah.
would, like, know the norms and know
Yeah.
how things work and know
Mhm.
how these vendors work in this area."
Yeah.
And so to be able to go, "Oh, okay," like, I had trust in the fact that even though this doesn't make sense to me and this isn't how
Mhm.
I would do it, you've done it enough
Yeah.
times to know what the norm is. And
Yeah.
so I had to trust you with that. And
Yeah.
I just don't see that from a lot of other brides that I talk to.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think I appreciated the most about, like, our working relationship was that I can't tell you how many times you said to me, "I trust you, just do it." I trust you. Just do whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you got it.
Yeah.
And, like, I think that is so important. That's why I do consultation calls before I book people, is because, first of all, there's other questions I need to ask you than just your name, the event date, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But then also, like, I have done consultation calls before and said, like, I just don't think, like, we're gonna be a good fit for each other, but, like, let me recommend some other, like, planners
Yeah.
or coordinators that I feel like would be a better fit for you,
Mhm.
and, like, and vice versa. Like, I've had people tell me, like, "You're probably great at what you do. I just think for what I'm needing," and that's fine. Like, I don't get offended by that. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, cool."
Yeah.
Like, that's that
Yeah.
doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Also, though, I feel like what's meant for you is gonna come to you. Like, that's,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of my mindset. But I do appreciate you just, like, trusting in me and trusting in the process, even though a few times towards the end you were like, "Valerie, are you sure?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Girl,
There
I
were a
got it."
couple times where I, like, pushed back, and there was a few moments where I was like, "No, I really gotta do this, whatever," but I think it threw people off too. I remember when we were doing our walkthrough for rehearsal dinner and which
Oh, yeah.
that was another reason why I hired you, because, like, in our family situation, usually there's a family that participates in the
Yeah.
hosting and planning of the rehearsal dinner,
Yeah.
and for our family dynamic, that wasn't gonna happen,
Yeah.
and so planning and the rehearsal dinner was gonna fall on us, and
Yeah.
so you had that as a service, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Great, awesome, cool, do it."
Yeah.
And so when we're doing you're like, I found this place, it sound good, like, I think it's gonna fit what you need." I'm like, "Cool, great, awesome."
Yeah.
We booked it, sight unseen,
Yeah.
like, I was like, "Sure," and then we go for the walkthrough, and the coordinator, the venue
Yes.
person is, like, asking
Spectacular.
me all of these questions. She's, like, directing all these questions,
Yeah.
like, "What color napkins do you want? And
Yes.
what color, like, chargers do you want?"
Mhm.
And I'm just like,
Courtney's like,
Valerie's gonna choose.
yeah, she's like, keeps looking at me. I'm like, "Okay, this is what we're gonna do."
Finally, after, like, 10 minutes of that, you were just like, "I'm just gonna shoot it to you straight. Um, I'm gonna make these decisions for
But I think that I'm so glad we booked there for that, because I had heard that they were, like, really accommodating and, like,
Oh, they were amazing.
amazing. Like, I
So good.
recommend them all the time.
I do too.
It's Southside Loft for you people in the
For sure.
Chattanooga area if you need.
I'm, like, always in the Facebook groups now.
Yeah,
Southside Loft. Sounds
because I think
they were
they can
amazing.
accommodate, what, 50 people, I think it was?
Yeah. We're
And they
excited.
have, like, napkins, chargers, decor, like, it was insane, and
So good.
she set all of that stuff up exactly how we asked her to do it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Like, yeah, it was phenomenal. I cannot recommend them enough.
So good.
Okay, so what was your favorite part of wedding day?
I don't know.
I have a favorite part of your wedding day.
Okay. Well, I'll say I do have a regret. We became such good friends. It
Yeah.
was so sad that you weren't at my wedding
That's
ceremony.
my one regret too.
Because we had 2 venues.
Yeah.
You have a big team, so, like, part of your team stayed at the ceremony, but the way that we had booked it, the reception had to be set up during the
Yes.
ceremony, some of the ceremony, and so by the time we got to wedding day, we were such good friends that I was
know.
like, "I wanted you to be at my wedding." You were
I
at my
was
wedding.
really so
But
bummed about it, but, like, that's my one regret about your event, is
that you
like,
weren't there.
yes, like,
The
I wish,
ceremony.
yeah, I wish I would have done
It was
that
so good.
differently. But then I watched the video and I'm, like, weeping on my couch
Yeah.
watching it.
I don't know, I have a lot of favorite parts of the day. I think, I wanted the day, especially leading up, I wanted it to feel like it was a special day with our people
Mhm.
and with each other that just happened to be photographed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
and so we built a lot of margin into our day for
Yes.
many reasons, but we
Yeah.
built a lot of margin. It just didn't feel rushed. It didn't
Yeah.
feel overwhelming. It was really organized. It was really simple. Like,
Yeah.
our ceremony venue was really simple. It wasn't complicated. It
Yeah.
was complicated to park and get there, but I finished
That's just
freaking out about
downtown,
that.
so
Yeah, but, like, it was really pretty and it was a perfect day. But I think also my favorite part of the ceremony was that we just were really intentional
yes.
about really important moments.
Yes.
And which I said it earlier, like, I never really had a Pinterest board for my
Yeah.
wedding growing up, it's not something I did, and I think the big thing is, well, one, like, as I got older, I was like, I'm kind of losing hope here," but, like, that was one part, but then the second part was I always knew that I wanted our wedding to be significant
Yeah.
and personal
Yes.
to us, and until I figured out who I was marrying, I felt like I couldn't plan the wedding.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when I look back on our wedding, it was so us.
Yes.
Um, there was a couple things that were really special.
Mhm.
I surprised my dad with the
Yeah.
song that we were walking down to the aisle to. I've
Yes.
never seen my dad blubber so much. He's not a like big crier.
Yeah.
So that was really, really sweet.
Mhm.
And it just felt really significant, really sacred and
Yeah.
holy in that. We also, like right before the ceremony, because we had so much time, like we brought our whole wedding party and all of
Yeah.
our families to the back
Yes.
room and we did just a prayer together, and it was just a really like, again, really like sacred moment that
Yeah.
like this was bigger than us. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that was a theme that Nick and I wanted, was like, yes, this was our day, but our journey, which is a whole story for another day, but
Yeah.
like, or you can listen to my podcast and hear it, but like our journey, we wouldn't be where we're at without our people. And
Yeah.
so to be able to sit in a room with all of our most important people, and just like just really just mark this moment was so, so
Mhm.
important. So I love that. And we had some other like significant moments, like significant
Yeah.
songs and those kind of things. And
Yeah.
so I just feel like this ceremony, sometimes when I hear people talking about their weddings,
Mhm.
like the ceremony is like the check the box. Like that's the legal
Yes.
thing to do. Like
Yes.
that's like you do it, you do the vows, like go, whatever, let's get to the party,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I just feel like this we didn't do that. We made the ceremony really, really special.
Yes.
And I know I've mentioned like five of my favorite parts, but one thing that really stands out to me is when our officiant pronounced us husband and wife.
Yeah.
The eruption of
Yes.
cheers and celebration, like it would make me cry now. Like it was just a moment of
Yeah.
victory. It was a moment of excited because like our journeys in singleness have been
Yeah.
wild. And, there was times where neither one of us knew or thought if it was going to happen.
Mhm.
And so just like you can hear it even in our highlight film, just like
Yes.
the screams and the cheers just
Girl,
go
that
on
was
for
Jen.
so long.
That was like 90% Jen. She is
My
so
bridesmaid Jen.
yes. She was such. I loved y'all's wedding party.
They are awesome.
Like every one of them was so nice and so
Yeah.
kind and like just you could tell they were like honored to be there.
Hmm.
She is hilarious, first of all. But
She's the best.
when y'all kissed and then when you were like pronounced, I was like, girl is getting it. Like
Oh,
she
she's
is so
celebrating.
excited. Yeah.
She's celebrating. There was like multiple times, like as we've talked to people afterwards, people are oh yeah, there was a moment I was about to start like running around in circles. Like I was about to we were about to have a
Yes.
praise break
Yes.
here. Like it was just really, really special. And so I love that. We did some
Yeah.
like different things, weird things. I
Yeah.
think one of the weird things I did was when I was walking down the aisle, which was 82 feet.
Yeah, that
It
is
was
long.
so long. It
Yeah.
was so skinny, like so
Yeah.
narrow.
Yeah.
But one of the things we did is we requested that everyone stayed seated.
Yeah. I love that.
As a 5'1" person, like it's like if I'm uh an extra a fringe guest,
Yeah.
I can see the bride walking down the
Yes.
aisle the whole time because I'm kind
Yes.
of sitting in the back.
Yes.
But like when it's family members or when I'm a
Yes.
bridesmaids, I'm
Yeah.
sitting in the front and I can
Mhm.
never see people walking
Yes.
down the aisle. And so, yeah, one, I wanted to be able to see everybody. And as
Yeah.
5'1", I wouldn't be able to see everybody.
Yeah.
But two, I wanted everyone to see me.
Yeah.
So I had everyone sit down.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is going to be so weird. But
No.
it was,
I've actually
people
had
loved it.
several like that's starting to be a thing now. Is
Yeah.
like and I understand the whole like traditional side of like people standing and that's great, but like I can't tell you how many times the brides that choose to have people stay seated
Mhm.
have said to me like, "Well, I've been to a wedding and I couldn't even see them because
Yeah.
some like 6'4" guy standing in front of you, or you're in the middle of like the seating area
Yeah.
if you're a guest,
Yeah.
and you're like trying to,
Yeah, you
like
can't see anything.
yeah,
That's like my whole entire story. Or you get to see them for the
yeah,
sliver of time that they walk past your row.
yeah,
And
or like
that's
between the
it.
people of like that section. Yeah, I loved
Yeah.
that
And then
honestly.
photography and videography is just a mess because
Yeah,
you can't see. Well,
yeah,
our team was 6'1", so we
yeah,
we it would have been fine for us.
yeah.
But
You
like
could have seen it.
they would have been able to see it just fine. But but yeah. So that was.
Yeah.
Anyways, what was your favorite part of my wedding?
I think my favorite part of the wedding was when you guys got introduced at the reception, only because I wasn't
So
at the
fun.
ceremony,
Yeah.
but like And then when you guys were dancing and like everybody got their cell phones out and we're like waving them around.
So good.
It was so cute.
Yeah, that was
and
our
especially
groomsman,
because
Chris.
yeah,
Shared that.
because the reception venue had the bistro lighting and just some it was very like moody and like
So moody.
it was just like a fairyland
Yeah.
of like lights. So it just added to that, and like that was probably my favorite
I
part.
love
And then
that.
just
It was
like,
not planned, by the way. The cell phone
oh yeah,
lights was
yeah.
not
I
planned.
figured
We're in our first dance,
Yeah.
and like halfway through our first dance, when the groomsman takes out his cell phone
Yes.
and starts, doing the
Yes.
concert wave with the cell phone, and the whole
Like
room
everybody.
just twinkled.
Yes.
And you can tell the difference in the content, and just like it changed the lighting and it changed the whole
Yes.
mood of it
Yeah.
to have all of those
Yes.
spotlights.
It was
It was
cool.
really special.
Mhm.
It's
It was
like it
fun.
was magical.
My one takeaway from your wedding, not for myself, but just
Sure.
in general, and we're gonna end on this note, is vendors. Please communicate with your couples in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
Because that, not just from a planner perspective, but just when people book vendors, like you're putting your trust in them to like
Mhm.
deliver what they say they're going to deliver in the time frame they say they're going to do it. They're going to uphold their end of the contract. They're going to, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's different vendor to vendor.
Sure.
So then when you go dark and you don't respond to the couple, you don't respond to the planner, you don't respond to phone calls, social media, whatever,
Yes.
like that breaks that trust.
Oh, trust completely broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a vendor in particular that I was bamboozled. They were great in the booking process.
Yeah.
So good in the booking process.
Mhm.
And then in the months and weeks and days leading up to the wedding, the behavior was so different.
Yeah.
And did not come through delivering, so much so that I, like, mid wedding planning process, like, renegotiated
Yeah.
the contract and being like, you're not holding up your end of the deal even before we got to wedding day.
Yes.
And so I need to renegotiate this because I need to take on some of this myself
Yeah.
because I don't trust you whatsoever. I had, from a bride perspective, like I had nightmares. Like I had like 5 or
Mhm.
6 like bad nightmares, bad nightmares.
Mhm.
The only time I was anxious my wedding day was in the 20 minutes leading up to the time that they were supposed to show up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, I was hyperventilating. I was getting my makeup done.
Mhm.
And Crimson, who I know you'll
I love
you'll
her
have,
so much.
but like Crimson is like getting my makeup done and she's like, "Are you okay?" Like I'm sweating. Like
Yeah.
I'm so nervous, which I'm sure as a wedding vendor you see nervous brides, but
Yeah.
I was so chill all day except
Yeah.
for those 20 minutes because I
Mhm.
was like I've literally had nightmares about
Yeah.
like them not showing up and because trust was broken. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Like
Yes.
when there's not, and it's one thing to be able to, like, life happens.
Yes.
It's and I'm pretty reasonable. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a very reasonable person. Especially being a business owner myself. Like I
Yeah.
understand like life just be life
Yes.
in, but like to feel like I'm in the dark and I don't know if these people are gonna show
Yeah.
up and I don't know if they're gonna say what they said they were gonna do
Yeah.
and all these things or fight with me. There was multiple times where I had to stand up for myself
Yes.
and fight for like, no, this is what we've talked about. Like
Yes.
this is what we've agreed upon. It's like I'm not really a bridezilla. I mean, you can tell me, you'll be like, yeah, Courtney's the
No, you
worst.
weren't.
But like I don't feel like I was a
No,
bridezilla,
you
but I had to
weren't.
put my foot down
Yeah.
and
Because this
you're
is the
right, 'cause
contract.
trust was broken.
Yes.
It's exactly
And
right.
it's everybody has their phone. And like as a single mom of 2 who works full time, runs a business full time, my teenager is extremely busy and can't drive, so
Mhm.
I'm running her everywhere if my older daughter can't and we're juggling schedules. It takes
Yeah.
30 seconds to respond to a text message
Yeah.
or less.
Yeah.
And it is okay to say, "Hey, I saw your message. I'm in the middle of something. I'll get back with you in a couple
For
days."
sure.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But when I get ghosted for months and
Months.
months on time,
Yes.
insane. Like I should not, as a bride, I should not be having to message you every single day and being like,
No.
your deadline's coming up.
Yeah. Or even just like as
Like,
the planner,
that's
like,
not my
hey, the
job.
bride is freaking out. Like, we have not heard from you. Like, what is that? And I understand people get busy. There's obviously busy seasons in weddings, and
Oh,
like
for
that's
sure.
fine.
And I'm totally understandable
Yeah, but
about
like that's not okay. It's okay, in my opinion. I have a 48-hour limit. Number one, I'm usually responsive
I
like
was gonna
immediately
say,
because
you need better boundaries.
my ADD. I can't. If I don't do it though, I won't do it. Like I'll forget about it.
Yeah.
But like a 48-hour window, like I tell my team, if they reach out to you in 48
Yeah.
hours, you should respond. I don't care if it's okay, I'll get back to you.
Mhm.
Something.
Yeah.
But to go 4 to 8 weeks is
Mhm.
insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. To not talk for months.
Yeah, like,
And,
it is
like, to
not
not and it's not even just, like, because I do think there's a hurry up and wait in
for
the
sure.
wedding flow.
Yes,
Like, you
yes.
hurry up, you book all your vendors really, really early, and then you're just kinda sitting in this lull
Yeah,
until you start getting, like, closer,
yeah,
and so I
for
do
sure.
get there's a hurry up and wait, but it was, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if like, at one point, I think I had said, like, "Did they die?"
Yeah.
Like
You literally were like, "I wonder if they're okay. Like, did
I hope
something
they're
happen?" Or,
okay.
like, on their social media, like, have they
I'm, like,
posted
trying to stalk
anything?
them,
Yeah.
I'm actually concerned because
Yeah.
I had no reason to believe that this was, like, a scam or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, like, going back to what I said at the beginning,
Yeah.
like, being able to vet and I feel like I again, I hate research, but I'm a good researcher,
Yeah.
and I feel like I really did vet this vendor, like,
Yeah.
really, really well. I
Yeah.
feel like I did. I feel like I trusted my gut. Like, I had multiple meetings with them before booking them. And, the one thing I wish I did differently other than booking them, but, like, the one thing I wish I did differently was, I mean, I vetted them, have so many meetings,
Yeah.
got so many, like, things from them, like, reviews from them, like,
Yeah.
other content from them, like, all
Yeah.
these kind of things. I felt like I was sold on the vision. I
Mhm.
felt overwhelmingly excited about it.
Yeah.
The one thing I didn't do was go on their social media and ask that bride, "Would you hire them
Mhm.
again?" And I could bet you
Yeah.
I am
Well,
not
we've seen
sure.
reviews
We've
since
seen
then.
reviews of
Of
people being like, "I wouldn't
Yes.
hire them again,"
Yeah.
and that's I wouldn't hire them. That's the only vendor I wouldn't hire
No.
again. So,
Yeah.
like, I that's why I say to brides because I don't wanna, like, freak people out because it is scary. Like, you are
Yeah.
trusting people with elements of your day,
Yeah.
and you're trusting people with your planning, like, all this
Yeah.
kinda stuff, and so that's the golden
Yeah.
question. Like, go every bride wants to talk about their wedding. It's fine. If somebody randomly messaged me on Instagram right now, said, "Hey, I saw you were tagged in this photo. This vendor tagged you here.
Yeah.
Like, can I ask you questions about your
Yes.
wedding?" I would tell them everything they wanted to know
Yes.
about my wedding.
Yeah.
In fact, I've done that. Like, I've
Me
been
too.
like,
Even they're not my clients.
yeah.
Like,
Like, I'll tell
they'll
you everything about
Yes,
my
because on
wedding.
those Facebook groups, they're like, "Have you worked with so and so?" And I'm like, "Hey, planner here. I've worked with them." And people will message me, "What was your experience?"
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
for sure. Absolutely.
Who's
So
gonna
that's
tell us we have to wrap it up?
that's that's my thing that I would say is just like ask don't be afraid to ask those questions.
Yeah.
Slide into the DMs of other brides of
Yeah.
vendors that you're thinking about. You can ever the Instagram world, it's all connected. Slide into those
Yes.
DMs and be like, "Hey, would you hire them
Yeah.
again? What was your experience like?"
Yeah.
And
And be honest, y'all. Be honest.
yeah,
For sure.
be honest.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming. I'm
Love
so
you.
glad you're here.
I know. It's like bride and planner turn friends.
Yeah.
We've only actually spent this is like our 5th day together
Yeah.
because we didn't live in the same city.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we talked all the time though.
I would talk all the
But
time.
okay, join us next episode. Thanks to Build Something Media. We're out.